Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Jayam Muthirai Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Tivacharan Pangalangai Tatam Hamande Shri Guru Tinatara Chaitanya Paramananda Ishwaram Tat Sat. So today we will be discussing on third canto. So let me share. So today we will be discussing on third canto, chapter 7 and shloka 40 to 42. So this will be 3 shloka and they are the concluding shlokas for the chapter 7. Chapter name is Further Inquiries of Vidura. So let's start. Vitan me prachantaha prasannan harer karma vivistaya bruhi ajnasya mritvat ajaya nasta chakshusha etan me prachataha prashnan harir karma vivistaya brumi me ajnasya mitratvat ajaya nasta chakshusha. My dear sage, I have put all those questions before you with the view to knowing the pastimes of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You are the friend of all, so kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision. So this word, lost their vision, is a important part. So we'll further see the purport. Vidura put forward many varieties of questions in a view to understanding the principles of transcendental loving service to the Lord. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.41, a devotional service to the Lord is one, and the mind of devotee is diverted to many branches of uncertainty. Vidura's purpose was to situated in that service of the Lord, wherein one merges undivertedly. He claimed the friendship of Maitra Muni not because he was Maitra's son, but because Maitra was actually the friend of all who have lost their spiritual vision due to material influence. Yeah. So this last word, who have lost their spiritual vision due to material influence. So we'll come back to this. Yeah. Let us read next book also. Sarve vedascha yajnascha tapodananti chanagaha jivabhaya paradannasyaha nakuru lam api. Sarve vedascha yajnascha tapodananti chanangaha Jivapaya paradhanasyaha na kururviran kalam api. So we'll read the purport and translation for the next verse. O spotless one, your answer to these questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than the all Vedic charities, sacrifices, penances, etc. The highest perfectional work of charity is to give people in general immunity from the anxiety of material existence. This can be done only by performing the activities in devotional service to the Lord. Such knowledge is incomparable. The cultivation of knowledge in the Vedas, performance of sacrifice, and distribution of munificent charities altogether cannot form even a part of immunity from the pangs of material existence that is gained from the devotional service. The charity of Maitreya not only will help Vidura, but due to its universal nature will deliver all others in all times. Thus, Maitreya is immortal. Okay, so let us go. Shishuvakavacha sa itam aparstah purana kalpaha guru pradanena muni pradanaha pravardaha harsho bhagavad kathayam santositam tampra arsanan ivaham Shishukavacha saitam parstaha purana kalpa guru pradanena muni pradanaha pravarta harsha bhagavad katayam sanchodisastam prasanna ivaham. So this is the last verse of this chapter. Shukdev Goswami said, thus Sukdev Goswami said, thus the chief of sages, who are always enthusiastic about describing the topic regarding the personality of Godhead, began to narrate the descriptive explanation of Puranas. Being infused by Vidura, he was very much enlivened by speaking on the transcendental activities of Lord. Great learned sages like Maitra Muni are always very enthusiastic about describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Maitra Muni, being thus invited by Vidura to speak, appeared to be smiling because he actually felt transcendental bliss. Thus, and the Bhaktivedanta, the purport of third canto, seventh chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Further Inquiries by Vidura. So we will see what are those further inquiries. So just let us go back a little bit. Yeah. So we can hear how beautifully, Vidura asks the questions. Okay. So first he thanks about in this chapter what all going on. We will just have a look. First he thanks about the previous answers, whatever Maitra has given explanation, and so then he further asks further questions. Yeah, so he tells, I am probably okay. Now here he says, please describe the living and their different classifications. Please describe the incarnation of modes of material nature. No? Oh, kindly say, describe the division of human society. Yeah, so he asks further questions. Now, one thing we see here you know, when we have, okay, so we will go, first we'll discuss about the last verse, which is about the ending. Sukdev Goswami, thus the chief of sages, who always been enthusiastic about describing the topic regarding the person of God, and began to narrate the descriptive explanation of Puranas. Thus, infused by his Vidura, he was very much enlivened. Hmm? So this one we will see. Yeah. So here it says, Maitra Muni, thus being invited by Vidura to speak, appeared to be smiling. So we understand this, who's Vidura. Vidura is one of the 12 Mahajanas. He is Yamraj. Okay, so Yamraj's duty is, keep on punishing the people who are not following Krishna conscious, who are doing and engaged in different kind of, vikarmas or bad karmas. So that department is handled by Yamraj or Vidura. So it is kind of a very difficult task where you have to keep on giving a trouble to living entity, put into different thing. But his ultimate aim is that he's thinking this person is getting reformed. Might be sometime some doctor's activity. Might be it might be looking like he's doing a surgery, which is kind of giving a pain to the people or the patient. But at a absolute level, Yamraj is trying to reform a living entity or jiva or soul to correct him, and that is his service. But internally, he wants to what to say enjoy the rasa, or the pastimes of the Lord. So that is what he's also want to hear. So when he comes as a Vidura, he asks Maitreya. So, when any discussion happens, most of the things are in question and answer. Whether we go to the general places, like if we're in the market also, how much does this cost? Then he will reply. This everything, all the conversation usually happens in a question and answer. So in this regard, we see, you know, yeah, Bhagavatam says that question and answer, which does not talk about Krishna, they are kind of useless. Okay, here we see three parts. Whenever there is a discussion, three things are important. Three people. First one is speaker. You see here, Maitra Muni is very qualified. Because Lord chose him when he was leaving this is going to his planet. So he chose Maitreya also to hear this Uddhav Gita, which uh, Lord was giving. And then, uh, so Maitreya was describing. So he was kind of a very, what you say, qualified. And then we see Vidura. Vidura is asking very nice, questions. So we understand here Vidura's questions are themselves so beautiful. They are so nice. What to speak of hearing the answers? Just hearing the question itself gives a lot of pleasure. We can see not only in this chapter, in previous chapter also, when Vidura is asking about Krishna's well-being or Krishna's Yadu dynasty, or when he's asking about Arjuna, all those. So his questions are so beautiful. So these questions themselves give a lot of pleasure to the speaker, because the speaker also wants to speak on the same topic and question. This Vidura is also asking the question on the similar, and thus he's also concerned about the the future. The people might refer this. Okay, so that is also there. So he says in the this verse, not only, and it will be there for greater, um, all charity, all others in the all times. So he's concerned about the all the people for all the time. So in this case, for example, this we have in Bhagavatam class, or any discussion, spiritual discussion. So the audience also matters, like how audiences are present. So that gives a more encouragement to the speaker as well as the person who's inquiring. So we see this, Vidura is asking for them also. So And hearing these questions, Maitra feels a kind of happiness or transcendental bliss. So hmm, smiling because he's actually feeling transcendental bliss. Exactly what Prabhupada says. Appear to be smiling, so he feels so happy. So that is kind of a uh, discussion about 42nd verse. So now we see coming back to the verse 40th. hmm, So this word Ajayanastah Chakshu. It says, you are friend of all. So kindly describe them for all those who have lost their vision. Hmm, Yeah. And also the verse, Prabhupada says, Prabhupada writes in purport, sorry. He claimed the friendship of Maitreya Muni not because he was a sorry, he was a Maitreya's son, but because Maitreya was actually friend of all who has lost spiritual vision. So this is an important factor, yeah, we'll go little further. Yeah. Hmm. Who has lost his spiritual vision. So this is what this important part is there. So coming to this topic, we understand Vidura is one of the 12 Mahajanas. Okay, yeah. So Krishna himself says this world is kind of a dukkalaya. Okay, so the creator himself say what kind of a the place is. Okay, so he himself says this world is kind of a dukkalaya ashashvatam. Hmm? So it is not permanent and it is full of miseries. But somebody will say, Ki, where is the misery? We can see many people are happy. You know, some kind of a bodily happiness is there, some kind of a mental happiness. So happiness also can be divided into different parts. Different types of happiness. For example, you have a gulab jamun. So that is kind of an instant happiness. Or else, if you see happiness like building a bridge, so that is kind of a mental happiness. Or if you can see further writing some poetry or something like that, that is another happiness. Or building some plane or something. So these are kind of different happiness. Okay, so these are the pleasure of this world. Hmm? So if there is no pleasure in the world, why would people come to this world? They would have simply, if there was all suffering in this world, then they would have kept chanting Hare Krishna, and they would not. But this world has some pleasure. Now, why this world has some pleasure? Because originally the living entity he wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna, and that is the reason Krishna had to create this world. And here he tries to enjoy separately from Lord, but that does not give him any happiness. Okay, imagine if there is a cup of kheer, and if somebody says this kheer has what do you say best basmati rice, and the milk is the best milk of the organic milk, or kind of best desi cow's milk. And then this kheer has been created by so much process, and then there was the best saffron added and the top quality of sugar added to that. And then it is served in a pure uh, what to say golden cup. Okay, so all is there, but there is only one problem in this. It has a poison. Okay, okay, it has kind of a poison mixed in it. Okay, similarly, like Krishna says this world is a dukhalaya ashashvat. Similarly, if somebody says this kheer has so many good ingredients, but it has a poison also. And some people, what you are saying, I will not believe it. I will have this key, and they have it. And when they're having, it gives a pleasure. Initially, it gives a pleasure because it is, having all this sweet and all those ingredient. And says what you are saying, nothing is happening. I'm not dying. Let me have more and more. Okay, the poison will not act immediately. it will start acting after some time. Okay, and once when it starts acting, so the complete body will get kind of suffering. You will get kind of not able to do this, and a lot of pain will be there. Similarly, this material world, initially it will be kind of a the pleasures of this material world, it will give kind of a happiness in the beginning, but at a longer run the same happiness will create a trouble. Like for example, if you have a lot of sugar, then what will happen? You will get different diseases. Similarly, if you have any kind of a thing, if you make some inventions like cars are there, so later on there are so many car accidents, there are so many plane accidents. So the same thing which is giving a pleasure will give a suffering. So like that we understand, because Lord has said this is a dukkhalay ashashvatam. This place is there. So what is the best thing to do here? Krishna says, hmm, the best thing to do in this world is there when we try to give pleasure to the Lord. Hmm, is a Rishikesha. So when we use all our senses, all our these things to give pleasure to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we can also get happy. You know. So if you try to enjoy ourselves, then we'll not be able to enjoy. For example, the water. If you plant the roots of the water, all the leaves gets what is it? Nourishment. But if you try to put water on one particular leaf, then even if you put on top of it, it will still dry out if water is not reaching the root. So similarly, like if you try to be happy in this world, yeah, without serving the Lord, initially it might look happiness. It might give kind of some happiness, but in longer run, it will just give a pain only. No, that is what Bhagavad Gita also says. Okay. And Yamraj knows this, Yamraj, because Yamraj is the one who is giving a punishment to everybody who is not following proper, Krishna consciousness, or who is not properly utilizing his human life and giving troubles to others, who is not making any progress in spiritual life. So Yamraj is dealing with such cases, and day after day after day, and different kinds of hell. So in I think in fifth canto or sixth canto, it is mentioned around 28 types of hell, and what are the different qualities and what are the different uh, what is it what are the different kind of a punishment each hell will give. Some hell where you will be made to drink hot boiling uh, metal liquid like iron liquid. Somewhere so you will be boiled in the oil. So all different kinds of a hell are described. So Yamraj is the one who is a superintendent for that. So he knows that. So this vision which is lost, So here we see this last statement where Prabhupada says Maitreya is a friend of all who has lost their spiritual vision. Hmm? Translation as also them for all those who has a spiritual vision. So how we will be able to get back a spiritual vision? So that is why we are trying to understand. Hmm? So in case of yeah. So here we see Yamraj or Vidur is asking about Rasaraj, who is Krishna. He's asking about Krishna. So by hearing, he's putting different types of questions, and then he's hearing the answers. And for his question or whatever Maitreya is answering, to encourage or to get more detail about that, Vidura puts questions also so beautifully to Maitreya, which Maitreya feels a lot of bliss, and he starts to describe more and more in detail about the Lord. Okay, so we understand the lost vision can be gained through hearing. So similarly, in case of when Arjuna was there in the battlefield, and this Gandiva was kind of slipping from his hand, he was kind of Bhagavad Gita describes what was the position of Arjuna. And this Arjuna has won so many battle and is so powerful Kshatriya, and is feeling such weakness of heart. Why? because Lord wanted to show this. And, because we face similar situation, and then for benefit of all, Arjuna, Arjuna kind of becoming a calf, and then Krishna gives the milk from all the Vedas and everything as a kind of what to say, is a cow, and Krishna gives this Bhagavad Gita, which is like a pure milk. So, so and Arjuna hearing this what to say, um, spiritual knowledge from the Lord, hearing this Bhagavad Gita from the Lord, he got his vision back because he had lost his vision. He didn't know what to do. I'm in middle of this war, so he puts all so many questions. And what was the solution? It was a hearing from the Lord. Similarly, we see, hmm, yeah, a case of Vyasadev. Okay, yeah. So Vyasadev, so he was also kind of a morose in his heart. Even after writing so many, he was not satisfied. Actually, he was not satisfied. Even after writing so many literature. So then what happened? He kind of lost his vision. So then Narad Muni came and he told, write Srimad Bhagavatam, which describes the complete pure uh, uh, pastimes of what Lord and his devotees, the pure devotional literature. So that is what Narad Muni says. And this gives Vyasadeva his vision back, because from hearing from his spiritual master. Similarly, when Lord Ramchandra was to Vishwamitra Muni, along with Vishwamitra Muni. So then he asked, Lord Ramchandra also asked, Vishwamitra Muni, tell me about the Ganges, how did the Ganges came, and then he asked about the Ahilya, that stone, how she became a stone. So many questions he asked, Vishwamitra. So basically, Ramchandra also wants to show or set an example, like, how hearing about the spiritual from the spiritual master is so uh, gives back a kind of a vision. Okay, so similarly, Maitreya give the vision by telling about the pastime of the Lord. So this is we can see in this. Yeah, let us discuss. Yeah, so here in the Bhagavatam also we hear this verse. Dharma स्वन्तस्तपुमं विवेक्षेण कथायः न पहेद्यति रतिं shama evala hi kevalam shama eva hi kevalam. So we hear like for example, we do all our occupational duty properly. If a person does all his duties, he's doing this thing, everything properly, but if that does not provoke attraction for hearing the message of the Lord, in that case, whether if it is any scripture or any this thing which does not develop a law for Lord, is kind of a bogus. So similarly, imagine if we have a car, we are making sure that the good air pressure is there in the tire. The car is regularly washed, petrol is filled, everything is there. Light is working, AC is working. But if the steering is not working, then what is the use of that car? It cannot go any direction properly. Similarly, if a love for the message of Godhead is not getting developed, then it is a waste of time. Shama eva hi kevalam. So it is very important, like, even if you follow all the occupational duty, and if you are not getting this thing, love for message of God, then it is a kind of a Shama evali kevala. Okay, like how like person who's suffering from jaundice, only solution for him is he has to drink sugar cane juice, even though in the beginning that will taste bitter, but just by drinking that juice again and again, again and again, he will be cured of the disease. Similarly, this Bhava Rog, this material uh, person who's stuck in this metal world is kind of under a Bhava Rog. And only solution for that is, hearing about the Lord. So once we keep on hearing again and again and again, so that will give a person a solution, or that will cure a person from this uh, disease called as a Bhavaro. So similarly, we see in the life of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada is basically, he heard from his spiritual master. We know that pastime of how, once when Prabhupada went to uh, Bhakti Saraswati Thakur was taking up uh, everybody on yatra, and then there was one place to see. Okay, and so the announcement was there because of time constraint. Ki Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur will give a lecture, and whoever wants to hear can stay back, and who wants to go and see the place nearby can go and see. Okay, so many people went, but Srila Prabhupada stayed back, and he heard the lecture from his spiritual master. Hmm? So, just seeing a deity without understanding or without hearing from devotee, pure devotee of Lord is kind of only eye exercise. That is what we can understand. One of the lectures which I was hearing, it was mentioned like that. So, like, Prabhupada was hearing like that, and that is the reason, like Prabhupada says, I uh, like when somebody asked him how Prabhupada, like, were able to do this. So he simply mentioned, I'm just repeating the message of previous Acharya or the message of my Guru. So Prabhupada wrote this book, taking a lot of pain. So we hear many of the lecture, where Prabhupada disciples mention, like, Prabhupada used to get up at 2 o'clock, and then he used to translate everything, and he used to write. So Prabhupada's books are kind of which gives us this vision. If you read Prabhupada's books again and again, like, even if sometime we are not able to understand, or we will not feel like, pleasurable, it is not so sweet like how we sometimes we like to see TV or other thing. But still, if we keep on reading this Prabhupada's book, slowly and slowly, we will be cured of this Bhavaro. Okay. So then, yeah. So then there are two process using which, like, to develop the taste for the glories of Lord. So one is that to serve the pure devotees or serve devotees. So that will do. And second one is keep on hearing the glories of the Lord. Okay. So there are so many nice pastimes of Lord. Hmm? Yeah. So the love of Krishna, or the Krishna consciousness is there in everybody's heart, but we have to just awaken it. And how it can be awakened? By the process of hearing. There are 9 devotional, process of devotional services, but out of that, the primary is a hearing. So this is kind of a process which supports other process. Without hearing, we cannot perfect other process. We have to at least hear something about the process so that we can perfect that. So for that, hearing is required. Hmm? So complete happiness. Happiness will be achieved only if you ask questions and answer related to Krishna. So as I was discussing earlier, whatever questions and answers you ask will not give you a pleasure. The pleasure what one can have is by Krishna. So when if you ask the questions which are about related to Krishna or his devotees, can only give a satisfaction or happiness to the soul. Yeah, all the questions which are related to Krishna and his associates will only be able to satisfy the heart. So that is what we can understand. So we discussed this, 3 types of people. The quality of inquirer is also important. Like, if you ask some, there was one lecture which I was hearing, in which this uh, uh, Radha Govind Maharaj, I think so. Radha Govind Maharaj, he was mentioning, like, if somebody, some questions, some discussions are happening, and like somebody asked Maharaj, it seems like, Maharaj, what happened to the head of Ganeshji, which was cut off? So then Maharaj was asking, what do you want to do with that head? So the question, what kind of question you ask also is important. So Vidura is asking very beautiful questions. He's asking, the more and more pastime of the Lord. Please tell me about, what are the different kinds of incarnation, how we created this thing. So these kind of questions are so pleasing. So hearing this kind of a question, what to say, Maitreya is also happy. So like that. So here, yeah, we will. If we left out any point. Hmm. Yeah. So also we hear, what is the kind of a highest perfection of charity? Hmm? So we hear, like, the highest kind of a charity, one can give is that of a immunity from the material existence. So in material existence, everybody is suffering, and how somebody can give him immunity. We can relate to that words which we have heard, like, in Bhagavatam it comes, Tava Katamrita Tapta Jivanam. Okay, so the material existence is there, which is full of all miseries, and how one can uh, get immunity from that, by hearing the pastime of the Lord, Tava Katamritam. So by this pastimes, so similarly we see, the devotees go and try to distribute this, literature to everybody. So this kind of literature, or this kind of the literature which talks about more and more about Lord, can only give people happiness, or it can only it can free people from all miseries. Hmm? So such kind of activity is the highest charity. Like, sometimes we see devotees take a lot of trouble. Hmm? So that is what, in this this Gopi Gita also it comes, Burita Jana. So such people are munificent. Like, Srila Prabhupada went to foreign countries and he gave this all Krishna consciousness, regardless of person's qualification, how much qualified he is, so that he did never consider. Like, similarly, like in case of how Nityanand Mahaprabhu distributed, similarly on his footstep, Chaitanya, I mean to say, Srila Prabhupada also gave this Krishna consciousness to everybody. And it kind of, this kind of literature, this knowledge of Krishna consciousness kind of grants a immunity, from all the material miseries, because this world is kind of a dukkalaya ashashvatam. So miseries will be there. But what can give a immunity from that is a Krishna conscious literature. So that is the highest perfection of work of charity, is to give people in general immunity from anxieties of material existence. This can be only done by performing activities in devotional service. And such knowledge is incomparable. So this knowledge of Krishna consciousness is kind of a incomparable. There is no comparison. So somebody was saying, no, ahimsaha parma dharma. So that is a first kind of a dharma. So if you are not giving Krishna consciousness to the people, it is kind of a himsa. If you have the best knowledge, you have the best process. But if you're not giving this knowledge and process to others, you are kind of doing a himsa. Similarly, in the best charity or best thing what one can do is give this knowledge to others. So that is what Huh? So that is what Vidura says. So how Vidura, how nicely he says it is so so nice. Your answers all to all those questions will grant immunity from all material miseries. So such charity. We saying, Maitreya, you are giving the most highest quality of charity. Even the sacrifices, penance, nothing can be greater than that. This charity of knowledge of Krishna consciousness, which you are imparting, about the pastimes of the Lord, how the Lord creates different thing. So, which is the highest. There is no comparison to it. Cultivation of knowledge in the Vedas, performance of sacrifices, distribution of efficient chariots, altogether cannot form even a part of humanity from the tank of material existence that is gained from the devotional service. So, that is what says. Yeah, so somebody was saying, one of the lecture which I was hearing, all the happiness, all the happiness of this world is not even equal to a drop of happiness of a liberation. If somebody gets a liberation, so that happiness is kind of an ocean, and in front of that, all the happiness of this material world is just like a bindu. Hmm? And this all the happiness of this liberation is nothing in compared to happiness what one gets when he gets perfects his life or when he gets a Krishna prem. So that is kind of still big, very big ocean. So this happiness, liberation, happiness is just kind of a very small drop in front of that happiness. Hmm. Yeah. So this pastime of the Lord, the stories or the anything which is related to the pastimes of devotees of the Lord is kind of a hmm, what is it? It's kind of a most high knowledge, of which can give a immunity from the pangs of material existence. Hmm. So that the devotional service, charity of Maitreya not only will help Vidra, but also it will deliver all others in all times. So thus Maitreya is immortal. Okay, so we will end here, and then I will like to tell little bit more about because today is a disappearance day of Loknath Goswami. So we will hear little, we try to read little bit about Loknath Goswami's pastimes. Loknath Goswami was the eldest Goswami among all the other Goswamis. So he was the eldest, most elder Goswami. So even before Rupa Goswami or Sanatan Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, mm, so Loknath Goswami had met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in on Navdeep, Mayapur, so Loknath Goswami had come and he met him. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Loknath Goswami, you please proceed to Vrindavan. I will also come. So basically, he was telling, in another 3 to 4 days, I'm going to take sannyas, and I am going to travel to, all the places, and I will meet you in Vrindavan. So that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Loknath Goswami. But we don't see much of the information about Loknath Goswami, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, because Loknath Goswami when uh, Krishnadas Kaviraj, because Krishnadas Kaviraj, before writing this pastime, he went to all the senior devotees and he took permission. And when he went to take permission from Loknath Goswami, then Loknath Goswami is told, I can give you permission only and only if you don't mention anything about me in this, Chaitanya, because he never wanted any kind of a glory. Hmm? Or he never wanted if somebody comes to us and asks us something like that, we'll say, yes, I can give you permission, but only if you write about me in the beginning, in the end, in middle, everywhere. Somebody was not like that. He told, please, don't mention anything about me. But still, Krishnadas Kaviraj has mentioned about Loknath Goswami, Aha Prabhu Lokonatha Raka Pada Pada Vande Kripa Isti Chaya Yadi Haya Anande. Yeah, so I think one more place is there. Hmm. Hmm. where is mentioned about the Loknath Goswami Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yeah. Here it is. So look, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a mention about Loknath Goswami because Krishnadas Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj was not able to control. So at one place, he still mentioned that Sange Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Bhatta Gosai Ara Lokanatha. Yeah. When Rupa Goswami stayed at Mathura, he was accompanied by Gopala Bhatta, Raghunath Dasa Goswami, Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, and Loknatha Goswami. So Loknath Goswami was the eldest, and he was the first who came to Vrindavan among Goswamis. Okay, so he was one of the first Goswamis. Okay. And Loknath Goswami had personal association of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was a great devotee. And he was born in a place called as Yashodraha, village name Talakandi. So there he was. And actually, if you see, exact detail of that places are given. Loknath Goswami established a temple of Gokulanand. So we have, and I have just collected the photo of that. I will show you later. Yeah. And his father's name was Padmanabha, and his only younger brother was Pragalba. So he followed on the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and established a temple named Gokulananda. And Loknath Goswami's only disciple was Narottam Das. So we know the pastime of how, like Narottam Das was so great a devotee. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had stored a love for Narottam in a Ganges. So when Narottam came and he took a bath in that place, so the river gave this what to say love of Krishna Prem to Narottam Das, and then from that time his color also changed. So now for Narottam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come in dream and he told initiation from Loknath. Loknath Goswami was very humble, and he was he didn't wanted to give anybody initiation. He didn't wanted any name or any this thing. So yeah, so Narottam Das Thakur. So he served Loknath Goswami very much, So wherever Loknath Goswami was used to, go for evacuation to the same place, Narottam Das Thakur, used to clean himself with his own hand. And finally, he gave initiation to Narottam Das Thakur, and Narottam was his only disciple. So here is exact detail. So Srila Prabhupada mentions in Chaitanya Charitamrita the detail of the place, So somebody was asking in one of the lecture why Prabhupada mentions exact detail, station name, how distance is there, and whether you can go by boat or you can go by bus, etc. Because Prabhupada wants someday these readers should go to those places. Sometime those readers should go to those places and see that place. Yeah, and we see the pranam mantra for Loknath Goswami, which was written by Narottam Das. Shrimat Radha Vinode Keshevaha Sampata Samvitam. I worship the lotus feet of Srila Loknath Prabhu, the son of Padmanabha. He is a storehouse of single-minded service to the lotus feet of Shri Radha Vinoda. So we also know this pastime of how Radha Vinoda, manifested to Loknath Goswami. So we will discuss about that. So this is the place where the village of Talakori Gram in Yashodhara district lived mother and father of Loknath Goswami. His mother's name was Shri Sita Devi, and Padmanabha was his father. So Padmanabha Bhattacharya was his father's name, and he was a follower of Shri Advaita Acharya. Okay, Loknath Goswami was to the younger. Yeah. And Prabhupada also says his descendants of his younger brother still live in Talakori Gram. And from early days, Loknath Goswami was not attached to family life. And one day he left and he went to meet Gauranga Dev with great affection. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hugged him and he was about to take sannyas in 3 4 days, and then he asked him to go to Vrindavan. So in Bhakti Ratnakar, Narhari Chakravarti says, what was the condition while he was weeping and weeping, crying out his heart at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Loknath left himself being caught up and embraced by Mahaprabhu. Later, as Loknath bid farewell, he gave him confidential message. So that confidential message was like, "When you go to Vrindavan, huh, and I will come and meet you there." Hmm. And after that, Loknath never went to his house, and he was in Vrindavan. So we know, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and he went to South India Yatra. So to search Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Loknath Goswami also went in South India. Okay, yeah, and but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu after some time came to what to say Vrindavan. Hmm? And then like in Loknath Goswami had gone to South India and he heard that Lord has gone to Vrindavan, then he also went to Vrindavan. And then he came to know Lord has left the Vrindavan and he has gone to Prayag. So then he also wanted to go to Prayag. Then Lord Mahaprabhu came in his dream and told, "You stay in Vrindavan. I will come and meet you, and I'm there already in Vrindavan only." Okay, so that is what one pastime we can. Mm. Yeah, and then Loknath Goswami met Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, the followers of uh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Also, there is a pastime of how Radha Vinoda manifested. Okay. Mm, mm. Yeah, so Loknath Goswami used to enter in the 12 forest of Vrindavan in a great ecstasy. In one of the forests, which was named, there was a village named Marahu. There he stayed for some time on the banks of Kishori Kunda. He had a great desire to establish a worship of deity and render service to Krishna in that way. Okay, so understanding this desire, the Lord came in front of him and offered him Loknatha Vigraha. Hmm? Worship this deity. This deity is name is Radha Vinoda. Okay, and then Lord disappeared. Okay, and seeing this, he became anxiety. Loknath Goswami went to anxiety and absorbed in worry. And Radha Vinoda
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, सभी को दंडवत प्रणाम प्रभु जी, माता जी।
Hello. Sorry, I got disconnected in between. So times of Loknath Goswami is so many, and it's very difficult to describe it. Yeah. Session here. So is there any queries, some questions? Hare Krishna, any questions? Yeah. So if there are no questions, so we will end our discussion here for today's Bhagavatam lecture. Yeah. Hare Krishna.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
हम
Okay, we will
पहले ही प्रणाम करे प्रभु जी, कट हो गया था ना, तो मुझे लगा कि अति हो गया, इसलिए प्रणाम किए सभी लोग को। हरे कृष्णा बोले, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Okay. Oh, actually,
थैंक यू प्रभु जी। हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम।
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.